going after the true knowledge of self stolen from Africa.
So real quick, God, before you add on, so y'all all came up together in college together, and then y'all got the knowledge from Jessica. Okay, that's peace. That's peace, God. All right. Peace
So it's tough building into these guys, right? But here's what's important. Once you have brothers, they're your brothers, and the order how y'all got knowledge becomes less and less important.
Right.
Right? There are things I go to them. Yo, I need to understand it. Yo, I need to see this. Right? Mm-hmm. The idea of who you got knowledge from is important to give praise back to that, and then go praise back to the men and women that may have influenced you to get knowledge of self. But it don't mean that you think that you're better than nobody.
Right.
It just means you with your brothers and your sisters. And I want to make sure y'all know that you with your brothers and your sisters.
Peace.
Because you're going to have to teach the women. I don't want, I'm not saying that they don't think that, right, but a lot of people don't understand that, right? I know this is being taped, so I'm going to watch my words. This is not a fraternity.
Right.
This is not a fraternity. This is a way to build man, woman, and child.
Right.
This is not a fraternity. You may have come in it through hip hop. If you came in through that and that's what you want to do, that's the way you'll go. If you don't get the fact that this is bigger than the music, right? This is life changing. They in schools changing people's lives. When a lot of us, right? If you got knowledge of self after 1985 or 86, right? So if the nation, we say the beginning never began, was October 10th, 1964. Right. It was only 22 years before, it was 15 years before hip hop, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And people say 71, 74, 4. Yeah, here's the thing. Nobody was calling it hip hop. Right. It was what was happening in the streets of New York City. Right. And those are two different things. Right. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. So let's say you say 79 is when you heard, when everyone else heard Rapper's Delight. And it becomes big in everywhere in America by 86, right? Mm-hmm. That means that only 22 years before hip hop. Mm-hmm. Everybody else has been thinking about that for almost 40 years. So a lot of people got exposed through hip hop. It ain't how you got here, it's what you're gonna do when you're here. Right. I honor how y'all heard it, because we all heard it the same way. However, what we are doing with it is much bigger than how we got it. Right. We're changing lives. We're changing our lives. We are setting our communities on a path for new discoveries. I want y'all to hear what I'm saying. We are setting our children on the path for new discoveries. We are creating the geniuses of the future. See, if you don't think about it like that, what you will do is think about it and be like, I'm with my brothers. We building. Then you fall out with your brother, y'all argue for a minute, you go through stuff. If you're not tied to something bigger than you, right. If you're not tied to something bigger than your personality, I guarantee you will sit and you will be at home in days and be like, oh man, this is you got to remember this is bigger. A law will manifest is bigger than any of us individually. Because the man's will was to see y'all all here. Mm-hmm. The man's will was to make sure that people in other countries got knowledge of self. The man's will was to make sure that the children that he didn't see would be greater than children that he did see. Right. So now let's multiply that. That means the people that I don't see should be greater than people that I do see. Which means your responsibility means the people that y'all are going to build with should be greater than y'all. And then what does that look like every day? That's the practical thing. What does that look like every day? So when you think about this, did you get up? Did you breathe for a minute before you got up? Shit, don't just jump out the bed. We all have done it. Sometimes we all got to do it, rough nights. Don't just jump out the bed, man. Research has shown you won't have a good day. Your mind is totally twisted from the morning. Don't drink nothing with a lot of sugar as soon as you get out of bed. Research has shown it's going to change your day. Same thing y'all talk to the children about. Right. right? The same thing we tell the children not to do, you don't do it. And if you do it, you do it away from the children. So the children can't be confused about what you are still grappling with. If we grapple with something, that's we're adults. The children should never see what we're grappling with. Because they don't have the same level of what? Understanding. Your knowledge and wisdom is one thing. Their understanding is another. See, if I say, yo, I teach knowledge and wisdom. Okay, bet. But how does someone else get the supreme understanding? Because understanding is in varying degrees. And it's the best part of what you got right now. It don't mean it's always the best part. See, the understanding y'all have of the culture now is much higher than the understanding y'all had of the culture when you first got it, right? All of you. So therefore, understanding is the best part, but it's the best part at that moment. It's the present. It's your comprehension at that moment. Understanding does not mean agreement. Because everything you understand, you don't agree with. I know. Well, I know white supremacy. That don't mean I agree with it. Right? I know when we harm each other in the streets. I know what that looks like. But I don't agree with it. So understanding don't mean agreement. So think about this. When y'all are manifesting your knowledge and wisdom, make sure you don't leave the people to get a what? Misunderstanding. Now, sometimes you got to catch up. Don't get me wrong. Right? We laugh about was one time it was a brother, he was ready to get knowledge of self, and he seen us do something. And he was like, I'm never getting knowledge of self because I seen them do one thing wrong one time. Right? One time. He seen us do something. It wasn't even wrong. It was wrong according to his understanding.
Which is why I'm telling y'all about your knowledge and wisdom and someone else's understanding.
Right.
So you have to manage that. Make sure you keep your knowledge and wisdom according to the love and the right. Don't take people through hell if they're not ready to deal with a little bit of that wisdom and that knowledge in the process. Don't take nobody through hell if they're not ready for that, man.
Right. You know what I mean? That's why the God said. He was like, yo, what's up with 5%? 5% is this, man. I'm going to play basketball. I ain't forcing it on nobody. I'm not forcing this culture on nobody. Everyone has to choose it for themselves. Even our own children have to choose it for themselves. You give it to them. Now, here's my thing. I'm giving it to you. I'm letting you have it, Jack. I'm not playing with you. But you still got to choose it for you. Got to choose it for yourself once it's given to you. Right. So y'all just got to think about that. So I went into some other stuff, but
no, that's peace, God.
This is no lie. So I got knowledge of self September 1991. Right. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So just for context, I know y'all all know y'all tree because y'all come through him. But I got knowledge of self from a brother by the name of Divine Justice. He got knowledge through the first three born in Philadelphia, right? Which is Ramel Self, Jamel Tamu, and Kaim Knowledge Self, right? So the knowledge of self got to Philadelphia in August 1971. So Divine Justice got it from Kaim. Them three got it from Amar Self, right? So Amar Self is you hear a lot of, you won't hear a lot about him. Longer y'all hear, you'll hear more about him. Right. But he came to Philadelphia in 1970, and he came through a law and justice. So that's like my tree back to Allah. In that time, I got it when I was 15, right? So I got exposed to when I was actually 14, but started moving through it when I was 15. And so I know the life-changing elements of it. So I want y'all to think about how y'all was when y'all was 14 and 15. Then I want y'all to think about the 14 and 15-year-old young man that's out there right now.
Right.
How you gonna grab what you gonna say to him? What you gonna say to him when hip-hop doesn't make you want to be a 5%er? Right? Because see, hip-hop wanted to make us 5%ers, and depending on where you was in the country, there was other stuff going on where you knew we were nobody to play with.
Right? So you knew what it came with this. But you got to go grab people who have been fed. They're being fed lies every day. Their hero is now locked up by U.S. Marshals for planning a murder. Right? Think about Dirk. Their hero is locked up for planning a murder for hire. Right? All the guys they like take drugs and go to jail. All the people they like here take drugs and go to jail. It's a game of Russian roulette. It's a game of Russian roulette, and very few of us ever win. Now you got to grab that young man and that young woman too. Again, I'm gonna go back. You got to grab that young woman too, because she got to know who she is. Because if you tell who she is, that's gonna be a certain limitation what she's not gonna deal with. You're gonna teach your daughters who they are, right? So they know what to accept. You still got to teach your young girls, don't accept that. You want to deal with me, you got to get knowledge. Boy, kid can tell you at a certain time.
They got the sisters in the streets be like, you want to build with me? You got to go get knowledge yourself.
You can't play around with me if you don't want to get knowledge. And boys are goofy, so they do it. Right? So I got knowledge. I was 15. Took knowledge. I didn't take knowledge to Pittsburgh. I went to Pittsburgh with knowledge of self. So, you know what I'm saying? 1994, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, where I met both of these brothers. And so we've been together for 30 years. So we are actually here because 2 times a year, as the guys, we get together to really talk about what's going on in our lives, what we can do better, what we're doing well, and what we need each other's help with. Because you have to be able to depend on your brother in that way. So you got to be able to say, okay, you know what? Here's what's going well. I'm doing it. Here's what I'm having some challenges with. I need to be vulnerable with this. You got to be able to trust your brother to be vulnerable with him. Right? You have to build that bond. Change happens at the speed of trust. Some of you may have heard that. That's how fast change happens. Change happens with the speed of trust. If you don't trust nobody, you won't change with them. So you have to build bonds of trust with your brothers and your sisters. So we take a time 2 times a year to be able to do that together. This time we chose to come up here. You know what I'm saying? So we sat for like 3-4 hours this afternoon. And we went through everything we needed to go through. We still got other stuff to do, but we went through everything we needed to go through to get on the same page, to take that back to our other brothers in our tree, to say, here's what we had to deal with. And then in 6 months, approximately, we'll go on another trip with the bigger group of people and get on it and make sure everybody's on the same page. This is nation building. This is distinction. We're talking about culture and nation. What you are learning right now is the cultural tenets of how to participate in this nation. You have to learn to participate as a member of this nation.
I'm going after the true knowledge of self stolen from Africa.